Hi, I'm Joe Durante. This is my second video on the 28-foot Downeast boat build. As I uh, as I mentioned in the last video, I was going to concentrate more on some of the stuff you don't see in a lot of the videos on these boat building videos. And a couple of the things that I wanted to touch base on, which I'll show in this video, is number one, how I radius corners on the cabinets, how I scarfed the plywood to make the hull. I mean, I'm just going to touch base. I'm not going to get stupid on that because there is a ton of videos out there. And how I heated and bent the Korean fiddles for the Korean tops. So let's go into the shop and let's get started. Okay, we're back. So this is pretty much the jig I made to scarf the plywood. So it was an 8-inch scarf, or actually an 8-to-1 scarf on 3/4. On the hull was the actual bottom. The hull was 3/4 of an inch, so it worked out to be about seven inches, something like that. But anyway, what I did was, let me show you what I did. So what I did was, I stacked my plywood 1, 2, 3. Right, I stacked the plywood, and then I set up these rails, one here and one here. Remember, this was done in the shop, and I had horses set up. I had a nice table set up in the shop. And once I did that, what I did was I made this thing up out of some aluminum angle. You could probably use some wood. I would use something like oak or something really, a good hardwood, because you don't want it flexing too much. You don't want it to flex at all. And let me just show you the bit that I used. So let's get this out. So this is the bit that I use. I don't know if you could see that. And this, I don't know, it was a planing bit. I don't know what they call this thing. On Amazon. And what I did with this was, this is only for demonstration purposes only. So I would turn this thing on, and of course, I would wipe it back and forth, go to the net, wipe it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, all the way up. Remember, my plywood sheets were 4 feet wide, and I would do that until I got everything done, everything machined to a certain point, and then of course I would have to use a hand plane to make everything nice and flat. Let me just show you the plane I use. I see a lot of people using these little block planes, and I don't know how you can get any accuracy out of that or anything straight out of that. But to clean this up after I finish machining it, I use this. This is a joiner plane. This is a little bit small. This is a number 6. Yeah, this is a number 6. The number 7 is a little bit bigger. You can pick these things up used. They're a little expensive, even used they are. But I got to tell you, man, these things, if you're going to do any type of planing, if you want to join anything, this is the tool to have. And that's what I did. Again, I'm not going to get too stupid showing you how I did that. Let's move on to the next thing that I promised I would show you what I did. Let me just kill this. All right. So what I did was I took my compass, right? I don't know if you can see this. We'll move this out to here. I took my compass and I drew a 6-inch radius, right? And that's pretty much what those cabinet corners are. There's 6-inch radiuses. And then what I did was I laid it out. It worked out to be 2-inch pieces. 2-inch, 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 2-inch. So I had 5 pieces. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 inches actually. 2 inches from the top. Anyway, what I did was I laid it out to be 9 degrees. So this is not really 6 inches. This is a little bit smaller. But what I did was, after I laid it out, I cut these pieces. This was just practice pieces. I cut these up and I laid it on here, and that's how I determined the size of the pieces I needed to make. So what I did was I ripped a bunch of pieces of white oak. I glued everything together. I don't know if you could see that, right? And this thing fell in, but hold on. so my phone rang and I had to answer it, so I shut the phone down. I shut the camera down. But I don't remember where I was at. But anyway, what I did was, to recap, I took my compass, made a 6-inch radius. This isn't a 6-inch radius, and I cut up a bunch of pieces like this on my chop saw, and or my miter saw, whatever you want to call it. And I checked to see if the radius was good. The radius was fine. This is a 90-degree right here, right here. So, and yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. But anyway, and then I ripped these pieces, I glued everything up, and you could see there's a hole there and a hole here. So what happened was, what I did was, I made up a jig, right? I'll put this over here so you can see it. I made this jig, right? Let's get rid of this. And I took this, this was about, I don't know, 40 inches long. I only needed 32 or whatever it was. And I made the jig, and I attached this here. I'll do this like this. I screwed this to this, right? Remember, it looked like that. So I screwed this to this, right? I screwed it, and then, here, let's move this. Let's go to right there. Okay, there we go. Now here are my rails. I screwed rails down. I got a planing blade, right, for my router. That's a router table. And remember this. Remember, I had it screwed underneath. This was put on, right? Yeah, let's do that. I turned the router on, and I ran it back and forth, and I pushed it through, right? Back and forth. I pushed it through, back and forth. I pushed it through, right? Back and forth, right? And that's how I ended up getting this. If you see it, that's how I got this. So of course it was rough when I got it, so I had to plane it, and I had to sand it to make it smooth like this. But that's how I made it. Now, moving on, let's go over here. So as far as the Corian top was concerned, let's see. Am I set up good over here? So the Corian top. So what I did was, I ripped down some Corian. I had to make fiddles for the boat. So on a boat, the countertop. So the countertop, usually on a boat, the countertop, and then you have the face piece. Corian only runs a 1/2 inch. It's only a 1/2 inch thick. There it is. So what happens is your countertop, and then your face piece, 1.5 inches. And here's your countertop. But on a boat, you want what they call fiddles, and the fiddles stick up about a 1/2 inch above the countertop. So what happens is, here, let's do it like this. Let's just say this is the countertop. Here is your fiddle. If you notice, it sticks up a 1/2 inch. If you see that, it sticks up. So how I did that was, I pushed this through the table saw to make this cut. Then of course I routed that. But now, because the Corian top was radiused, what do you do with this? How do you get this? So what I did was, I heated it up with my heat gun, right? I got it nice and soft and pliable. And if you notice, this has a step. And that step is for this to sit in it. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, if you can, you can. This over here was just a test piece, and it came out a little shitty. Anyway, I put this on. And remember, this is nice and heated. I ran this like this, and I put a clamp here, and I put a clamp here, and I let it cool for about 20 minutes. When I took it out, I had a nice radius, nice and perfect. Like I said, this was just a test piece. You can see it's a little rough, and it actually broke over here. But that's how I made that. And I think that's enough for today's video. And I'll show you how I did the floor, and I laid that out, and how I made the helm in my next video. So we'll just shut this down for now. Let's see what we got. Go to the computer and look at it and see if I can figure out how to edit this and all the mistakes.